All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Good evening. So I'm joining you guys this evening to read through the sworn statement submitted to the Commission of Inquiry by Lieutenant Edric Hargreaves of the Trinidad and Tobago Coast Guard. But before I do that, I do have a little bit of housekeeping, if you like, to give you an update about the fact that the hearings are going to recommence from the 5th. So I'm going to give you the evidentiary hearings because the schedule has now been updated. So I will tell you from the 5th of December to the 15th of December who is scheduled to speak. So on Monday, 5th of December 2022, the witnesses that will be called to the stand to give oral evidence will be Kazim Ali Sr. and Ahmed Ali and Victor Dilpol. So both Kazim Ali Sr., LMCS's Managing Director, and Ahmed Ali from LMCS, and then Victor Dilpol, 3 members of LMCS, will be called on the 5th of December, Monday. And on the upcoming Tuesday, the 6th of December, we're going to speak with Jonathan Ramdan from Paria Operations Team, Kirk Scott from Kenson, and Andrew Dobson from Kenson as well. While you guys are seeing the statement from Lieutenant Edric Hargreaves, I'm just reading through the schedule right now before I start reading that. And then, actually, why don't I just show you? Hold on a second. I'll show you all the schedule so that you're following with me. Give me a moment. All right, so this is the schedule that is that has been updated. I'm hoping that you could see it. Great. So as you can see, Monday, Kazim, Ahmed, and Victor Dilpol, all from LMCS. On Tuesday, 6th December, it's Jonathan Ramdan, Kirk Scott, and Andrew Dobson. On the 7th is Visham Harichan from formerly Paria Operations Team, Houston Majad Singh from Kenson, and Dexter Guerra from LMCS. On Thursday, they're going to be speaking to Andrew Farah, Michael Kurban, and Ronald Ramuta, and Conan Bido. All right, so let us go on to the next schedule. 1 second. So in this schedule, hold on. In this schedule, we are on Monday, 12th of December. They're going to be speaking to Alvin Sitaram, Lieutenant Commander Michael Mirage, Leading Seaman Lige Wood, and Lieutenant Edric Hargreaves, whose statement we're reading today. He's coming to sit and talk to the commission on the 12th of December. The infamous Catherine Balkisoon is on Tuesday, 13th December. That should be a very, very interesting commission of inquiry because we need to hear from Catherine what on earth she did or didn't do. Ralph Seals and Krishna Fuentes. And on Wednesday, 14th of December, we have Colin Piper being called, being summoned to the commission to give his oral evidence, and Mustaq Mohammed. And then, of course, on Thursday, we have Paul Yearwood, Randolph Archibald, and Osei Fleming. So that's for everyone who wanted to know what the schedule is like for the upcoming Commission of Inquiry. So I'm just giving you that update there. So, okay, so let's get to reading now. Just give me a moment. Right, so we're reading a written statement submitted to the Commission of Inquiry by Lieutenant Edric Hargreaves, H.B.M. Lieutenant, on the inquiry into the tragic incidents which occurred on the 25th of February 2022 at Paria Fuel Trading Company. So Edric starts his statement by saying the following. I'm Edric Hargreaves, in the Trinidad and Tobago Defense Force Coast Guard. His regiment number is 15040. He's been a member of the Coast Guard for over 20 years, having enlisted on the 10th of May 2000, and progressed through the enlisted ranks, achieving the rank of petty officer before being commissioned officer on the 31st of October 2013. He says his substantive posting in the Coast Guard is diving officer, and has held substantive positions from the date of commission, the 31st of October 2013, to the present day. His duties include being responsible for the management, safety and equipment of the Trinidad and Tobago Coast Guard Diving Department, performing explorative or extraction duties such as conducting underwater surveys or repairing and maintaining TTCG vessels, supervising and training TTCG divers, including public safety diving, performing activities related to underwater search and rescue, salvage, recovery, and cleanup operations. And E, operating underwater video, sonar, recording, or related equipment to investigate underwater structures or marine life. Taking test samples or photographs to assess condition of vessels or structures, inspecting and testing docks, ships, buoy systems, plant intakes or outflows, or underwater pipe lines, cables or sewers, using closed-circuit television, still photography and testing equipment. Obtaining information about diving tasks and environmental conditions, checking and maintaining diving equipment such as masks, air tanks, harnesses and gauges, and taking appropriate safety precautions such as monitoring dive lengths and depths and registering with authorities before diving expeditions begin. He says that he has over 22 years of scuba diving experience as a TTCG diver and is qualified under the Professional Association of Diving Instructors, PADI, with membership number 269088. His professional diving certificate and qualifications are as follows. He has open water certification dated the 1st of February 2010, basic remote operated vehicle operator certificate dated the 3rd of February 2010, advanced open water certification, 6th of February, rescue diver certification, scuba pro video inspection system, side scan sonar operation certificate, dive master certificate, equipment repair specialist PADI, Trinidad and Tobago Coast Guard Diver 1, search and rescue diver specialist PADI, deep diver specialist PADI, digital underwater photographer PADI, assistant instructor PADI, emergency first responser PADI, night diver PADI, dry suit specialist PADI, master scuba diver PADI. Lookout tag out procedures, OSHA Academy, incident and accident investigations, OSHA Academy, hazard and risk management awareness, OSHA Academy, full face specialist PADI, public safety diver PADI, PSD surface support specialist PADI, advanced public safety diver PADI. In relation to the incident which occurred on Friday, 25th February 2022, at facilities owned by Paria Fuel Trading Company Limited, located at number 36 Sea Line Riser on berth number 6 Pointer Pier, Paria, I wish to state that on Friday, 25th February 2022, at approximately 4:07 p.m., I was at the TTDF headquarters in Chaguaramas when I was contacted via the TTCG operations telephone on telephone number 783-4283. I was informed of an incident which occurred at Paria. The information was that there were 4 divers attending to a job at Paria's berth number 6 when an incident occurred, and that all 4 divers were reported missing while attending to the job. At approximately 8:43 p.m., I arrived at Paria's berth number 6 with 10 members of the TTCG diving department, excluding 5858 Chief Petty Officer CPO M. Jarrett. The other members of the contingent were divided into 2 dive teams, Team A and Team B. Team A comprised of the following TTCG service personnel. I'm not going to read the numbers, but y'all could see it. P.O. Nicholson W., leading seaman Francois, able seaman Harrison N., and A.B. Brooms. Team B included the following TTCG service personnel: P.O. Lambert S., L.S. Polo S., A.B. Romani R., AB Oscar S, and AB Half-Eyed B. On arrival at Paria's berth number 6, I meet one Miss Catherine Balkisoon, who I came to learn was the team lead engineer for operations at Paria. She appraised me of the incident and identified her team members involved in the recovery operation. She also identified other persons who possessed first-hand information about the incident, including Mr. Michael Kurban, the son of one of the missing divers. I then proceeded to interview Mr. Michael Kurban. Mr. Kurban informed me that he was also the standby rescue diver assigned to the missing divers. I also learned that he and the missing divers were all hired by LMCS Limited, LMCS, to provide diving services to Paria. Mr. Kurban stated that he was the person who had recovered the down diver, one Mr. Christopher Budram, from the pipeline. After further inquiries at the site of the incident and consultation with the diving enlisted senior ratings from the TTCG, CPO M0, the dive chief, and the dive POs, PO Lambert S and PO Nicholson W, it was recommended to me by the diving enlisted senior ratings that no scuba attempt should be made. This was because the space in question provided no room for maneuverability. We possessed inappropriate equipment, the cause of the incident was still unconfirmed, and there was still hazardous material contained within the pipeline. These all pose serious health and safety challenges which could not be ignored. I explained to Ms. Balkisoon the limitations and potential hazards associated with a dive of this nature, especially where the TTCG diving department was neither trained nor possessed the specialty equipment needed for such an operation. I advised Ms. Balkisoon that a rescue operation of this magnitude would require commercial equipment such as a dive helmet with ship air supply, and that the TTCG did not have equipment of this nature. I also informed her that the divers in the TTCG are only trained and have the requisite aptitude to perform operational scuba diving and not commercial dives. After a discussion with Ms. Balkisoon, sought out the assistance of commercial vessels which would normally be equipped with a dive helmet and ship air supply. The commercial vessels took over the dive rescue operation while the TTCG dive teams returned to the TTCG Interceptor pirogue vessel located along one of the commercial dive booths. Only the diving enlisted senior ratings and I remained on the platform, and we were on standby ready to give any assistance that was required. The operation continued for several hours whilst the dive teams remained on board the TTCG Interceptor, equipped and ready to help throughout the entirety of the operation. At approximately 1:10 a.m. on Saturday 26th of February 2022, all operations ceased. I approached Ms. Balkisoon inquiring from her what Paria's next step in the process was. Ms. Balkisoon indicated that she needed to engage in consultations with her supervisors, and if any further assistance is required from the TTCG dive team, I would be notified. Ms. Balkisoon expressed her gratitude to the TTCG diving department and indicated that a presence was no longer required, as the aforementioned consultation was going to take place. I assured her of the TTCG support to ensure the best possible outcome in the circumstances. I then proceeded to contact the Duty Commanding Officer DCO on the day 7039 Lieutenant Commander Akhenaton Isaac, updating him on the status of the incident, including the involvement of the TTCG in same. I was then instructed by the DCO that my team and I are to return to Stobbles Bay. I complied with his instruction and further instructed the TTCG contingent at Paria's berth number 6 that we will be departing Paria. All TTCG personnel arrived at Stobbles Bay at approximately 3:30 a.m. On Saturday 27 February 2022, a virtual meeting was held with members of Paria, along with CPO M. Jarrow and I, to develop a systemic approach towards the ongoing rescue mission. The rescue mission was prepared by LMCS. It was identified by persons present at the meeting, however, that the method which LMCS proposed to utilize created further opportunity for greater casualties. An alternative method was then decided on, and a decision was made to have the TTCG Diving Department return on Monday, 28 February 2022 to offer assistance to the ongoing exercise. On Monday, 28 February at approximately 4:55 a.m., a team of 7 TTCG divers departed Stobbles Bay for Parias Berth number 6. The team comprised of the following CPOM Jory, P.O. Nicholson W., L.S. Polo S., A.B. Romani R., A.B. Oscar S., and A.B. Belmonte C., and A.B. Brooms M. The operation was no longer one of a rescue, but a recovery exercise, as the missing divers were presumed to be deceased due to the length of time they were missing underwater. During the recovery operation, numerous stoppages were encountered due to ruptured lines during the pumping process. Notwithstanding this, between 5:50 p.m. and 7 p.m., 3 bodies with accompanying equipment were recovered. This recovery was facilitated by the pipeline being flushed by personnel from Paria. Several further attempts were made to retrieve the body of the fourth missing diver between Monday 28 February and Tuesday 1st March 2022. However, these were unsuccessful. On Wednesday 2nd March 2022 at approximately 11:15 a.m., a dive team was sent by the DCO of the day, 7034 Commander A. Jasper, to conduct a search within the area of Parias Berth 6 in an attempt to locate the 4th missing diver. This was done due to the possibility that the missing diver may now be outside of the pipeline. The search was conducted. However, the missing diver was not located. The dive team consisted of the following persons: P.O. Lambert S., L.S. Francois A., A.B. Grant S., Electrician Skinner D., and A.B. Harrison N. On Thursday, 3rd March 2022 at approximately 1:58 p.m., a dive team consisting of 2 persons and myself departed Stobbles Bay for Parias Berth 6 on board a marked TTCG military vehicle with a military registration number 4 CG75, driven by 6593 LS Monroe C. The diver team instructed to go to Paria by the DCO of the day, 7065 Lieutenant Commander S. Marshall F. The dive team consisted of the following persons: A.B. Oscar S. and A.B. Brooms M. The dive team arrived at Paria at approximately 3 p.m. The aim of the operation was to recover the body of the missing diver. Attempts were made by personnel from Paria to flush the pipeline with water, with the first of the TTDF either physically or through coercion by being armed with any weapons prevented persons from going into the pipe to attempt a rescue. As far as I'm aware, the decision to prevent persons from attempting a rescue was made by Paria personnel and not either myself, any member of the TTDF diving department, or by any member of the Trinidad and Tobago Defense Force. Neither I, any member of the Trinidad Tobago Coast Guard diving department, nor any member of the Trinidad Tobago Defense Force had the requisite authority to do so. The decision by Paria, however, was based on the assessment by the TTCG diving department that an attempt at a rescue can have severe health and safety implications, as stated in paragraphs 9 and 10 above. I hereby certify that all the facts in the statement are true and correct to the best of my knowledge, information, and belief. Lieutenant Edric Hargreaves, H.B.M, Diving Officer, Trinidad and Tobago Coast Guard, dated this day, 15th day of August 2022. So this is the evidence that has been submitted by Lieutenant Hargreaves, where he indicates, of course, that it was the decision of Paria ultimately to encourage the Coast Guard to use their weapons to discourage crowds from attempting a rescue. So this has been validated as fact. The Coast Guard did in fact point their weapons at rescue divers attempting a rescue under Paria's orders, and also the attempt to not proceed with the rescue that, of course, was put forward by LMCS was based on the assessment by the TTCG Diving Department that an attempt at rescue would have had severe health and safety implications as stated in paragraphs 9 and 10 above. And that is the statement that was submitted by Lieutenant Hargreaves. Pretty much short compared to a lot of the others. So I guess, what do you all think about that? I'm seeing some comments here. Derek Farmer says that, of course, bringing Colin Piper to the thing should be interesting. Gary Furless Edwards says, so if I'm understanding, they flushed the pipeline while those men were still alive. Yes, well, I think they would have flushed the pipeline on the Monday, right? Because they thought that, of course, the men were already dead. And according to the Coast Guard's assessment, that it would have been too risky to attempt any rescue of this nature. But ultimately, it was Paria's decision to make. So Derek Farmer says that it appears that Mr. Way lied on the oath. Could you explain why you say that, Derek? But yes, so this is really, it's a pretty short statement from the TTCGF, but it does show that the Coast Guard did have a sway in Paria making a decision to, it appears, not take up their specialists, because you remember, Mr. Way would have spoken about Paria relying on LMCS to come up with a rescue plan, and because they were the specialists. But it appears that, even the Coast Guard admitting that they don't have the requisite training or expertise or equipment, LMCS was indicating that they had the requisite experience and equipment, and they came up with a rescue plan. Despite the Coast Guard not having this experience, they still put forward the idea that for them, at least, it would be too high risk and they would discourage it. And it appears that Paria made up their decision long ago and just decided to latch on to the position as advanced by the Coast Guard diving team. Mr. Munish Ramroop says, so then Paria waited for the divers to die and then flush them out. Mr. Way did say that the Coast Guard did not stop anyone from going into the pipeline. Well, he will have to answer to that if indeed he did say that. So what qualification this man has to say LMS rescue plan wouldn't have worked? Well, I mean, we went through some of his qualifications already. He's, PADI certified in a number of areas. But, I mean, he understands his own limitations based on the equipment that he has, Karen? Marisa Ramnath Gardas says, question. Mr. Way said that LMCS was considered a specialist in the diving field and Paria didn't have any divers. So why Paria had the NC and why LMCS was never considered and allowed to use their own safety procedures that Paria accepted when LMCS got the contract to start off with? That's a very good question. Because, throughout the length and breadth of Mr. Way's contribution, he kept blaming LMCS for, not coming forward with a plan. But so far, with several witness statements that we've read already, everyone has acknowledged that LMCS came up with a rescue plan, contrary to the, notion that they didn't, according to Mr. Way. So everybody so far has disproved, Paria's representative so far. So it seems that Paria has certain questions to answer. We now know that they would have taking instructions from the quote-unquote Coast Guard, but were the instructions that they, took even reasonable? Kevin Carlessa says, it's very clear Paria never wanted to save these men. The ultimate authority for the site lay with them. This event happened on their compound and under their watch. Well, in the end, the Lieutenant Hargreaves was very clear to say that it was Paria's responsibility. They didn't have the expertise. It was up to Paria, and so they took instructions from Paria based on it being on their premises, right? They only gave advice based on what they thought for themselves and what they thought was prudent and safe for their personnel. And I think that, I guess Paria took that and ran with it, right? So I guess we can keep the chat going. It's a pretty short statement. Gary Fearless Edward says, I don't know if it ever came up, but putting Delta P incident aside for a moment, why were they contracted to weld a pipeline with oil? It seems to me the entire task was extremely dangerous. Perhaps I am mistaken. In the previous live stream, you would have heard that, a Delta P is caused when there's an imbalance of pressure. In this case, it was understood that Paria would have ensured that, another contractor would have done the kind of, clearing and so on. But LMCS didn't really know the design of the pipeline. They thought it was straight, right? But of course, in the aftermath, they found out that it was curved and it actually goes into concrete and so on, right? But they thought it was they thought it was straight. And because of this imbalance of pressure, that caused the Delta P situation to occur. But they would have assumed that was dealt with based on the scope of work that they would have received. And you would recall that in the previous testimony by Mr. Ahmed Ali Sr., he indicated that, they wanted to get the work done within a 3-day window. And they were imploring Paria not to take so long because conditions can change. And they needed to be up to date with what was taking place to ensure that their safety and procedures and to ensure that the chamber that they would have built over the stuff was done. So again, it's very it's a very complicated thing. But I guess we can wait for the Commission of Inquiry to start back. It's starting back soon. I'm very intrigued to hear from Catherine Balkisoon, who will be cross-examined by the Commission of Inquiry, and of course Mr. Colin Piper. So guys, keep the conversations going. This has been a very short statement. But yeah, so we will keep it going. But thanks for tuning in, and keep the conversation going. All the best.